Hi, Pamela Ann here with Easy Messages. Messages to help you command your world with such precision that you can even put a date on it. Today I'm going to talk about death and dying and about the goofy things that happen with families and how it brings out the best in them and sometimes the worst in them. It's all good though. It really is all good. It's all important. Everything is for our good, actually. And also some of the things that are important to be aware of when you're setting up situations for guardianship and stuff for you to be aware of, to really watch over your best interest as you do have these changes happening for you, especially if your faculties are not there. My mother turned 90 this year, and unfortunately this amazing, brilliant woman who was an educator and had taught many children in second grade. She had a bachelor in education and also her master's degree as well. Anyways, it was amazing to see all the great influences that she had in this world of children and people. I had the opportunity of actually knowing some of these children as they were growing up into adulthood as well, and I could see her good influence in this world. But meanwhile, I started crying buckets of tears 2 weeks ago. Just wept and wept and wept, and I'm wondering what is going on here. And it was obvious that I was already mourning her losing this magnificent woman. And I can remember walking into the shower one day. We were in our construction trailer here in Tucson because we're building up in the mountains. I opened up the shower curtain. Here's my husband take a shower. I'm walking right into the shower with my clothes on and everything. I looked at my husband and said, "Baby, I need a hug." And so without any hesitation, he stopped everything he was doing, put his arms around me and just held me. And then I was going to the store that day, and all of a sudden again came this feeling over me of weeping when my oldest brother called to ask me information of where my mother was so he could be able to have the blessing of visiting her before she passed. And I knew the passing would be coming pretty soon because I could feel it. My whole body could feel it. And once again I started weeping, and the feeling came to me again to ask someone for a hug. And so I went up to a complete stranger. I knew that he would never see me again, and I would never see him again. And he could obviously see that I had been weeping. And I said to him, "Could you do me a big favor?" And without hesitation, he said yes. I said, "Could you just hold me? Could you just give me a hug? My mom is in the process of passing. I am not able to stop weeping, and I just need a hug." And he stopped everything he was doing, took me in his arms and just held me very appropriately, and then spoke to me for a little while. We had a nice little interchange, and that was it. And it's just what I needed to be able to get my bearings again. I noticed when I came home and shared those incidences with my son, I had prepared some lunch for us to eat, and we were eating. He dropped everything that he set his food down, came over to me, opened up his arms, and just held me too, and said how much he loved me. And I really appreciated those gifts of physical kindness and love that my body really desired at that time. And even earlier on, prior to that happening of the weeping coming upon me, I noticed that there was some extra kindnesses of complete strangers that were showing me just this goodness and this pouring out of tenderness and just sweet actions of goodness toward me. And it's an example. There was a butcher at my store that I didn't really know. Maybe I said howdy a little bit to him, but this one day I went to him 3 times because firstly I couldn't find something that was on the shelf that I was hopeful that they had in the back, which they did. Another time I asked him if he could help me with something that was too high for me to be able to reach. And the third time, as I was checking out, and he was so kind and so quick to respond, and the third time as I was checking out, I looked and there he was, sacking up my groceries for me. And I said, "Frank, are you everywhere?" And we had exchanges, and I turned to visit with people in line, and we just kind of had some levity and a few interchanges of kindness to one another. And I turned to say thank you once more to this really wonderful man who had gone the extra effort to care for me. And I couldn't find him. So I'm walking out the door and thinking, wow, I just desired to say thank you one more time to let him know he really made a difference in my day, having no notion of some of the things that I knew were swiftly coming. And I heard someone calling to me, and I turned, and he had gone to Starbucks to buy me a refreshing drink just because. And he said, "You're so kind to us. You're always so happy and so good to us. I want to do something nice for you." That was so unexpected. And I just felt like I couldn't even go see my mother at that point because I was not going to go weeping. I just felt like that would be too hard for her, too draining for her, and she deserved to have me come refreshed and ready to be there 100% for her. Not for me, but for her. And so then one day, it was a Sunday, the Lord woke me up early and said, "Get up and go see your mom right now." It was about 3:34 in the morning. So I got up, took a shower, washed my hair and everything, and quickly packed some things to eat and prepared myself for the trip. And as I went on this trip, prior to going, I asked my amazing, darling husband, "Could you please go make sure the car is filled with fuel so that I can be able to go on this trip?" And without hesitation, he said, "Absolutely." Off he went to go fill up the fuel. And as he did, he hesitated and said, "Hey, wait a second. Is it raining outside?" It started pouring rain. I mean, absolutely pouring rain. I'm like, wow. Yeah, it is pouring rain. But nonetheless, he still went and got that accomplished for me and came back, and off I went on my trip. And as I was driving on this trip, I remember going to Phoenix, because I'm in Tucson, numerous times to go and see my mom and go up there with big haboos, whatever they call those huge dust storms, or rain, and dangerous slick roads and car accidents and all these kind of things going on and lots of traffic. And what I requested was for the rain to stop, for the roads to be dry, and for me to have green lights. And as I said that, and for it to be a trip with ease, so it would not be so wearing on me, and that when I arrived, that it would be an enjoyable experience, that I would be totally focused on Mom instead of worn out, and that it would not wear on me about how long it took. As I said those words, I looked up, and the entire street for miles was all green lights. And I said I'd like to arrive there at 7. That's when I'd like to arrive. So I'm saying very specifically what I'd like to see happen with this situation. And I drove up there. It literally felt, the rain stopped. It was totally dry. The traffic moved out of the way. I got all green lights, everything that I asked for. And I could see, I know this might sound trippy, but I saw these two magnificent, huge administering angels on my car, and it felt like I was just along for the ride, and they were totally taking care of everything for me. It was an amazing experience. And then when I got there, it felt like it was only 10 minutes from Tucson to where I was going. And I looked at the clock, and it literally was 7:01. Pretty wonderful. And I was able to go in refreshed and ready to serve my mother and honor her and enjoy her as much as I possibly could in her final days. I hope this helps you to be able to understand that you too can be able to do these things, that my life is only an example of what you too can have when you allow yourself to connect to those divine loving beings who know each of us and our hearts and help to inspire each of us. The Lord shared with me that I am always desiring to help, lift, and encourage others, and that it's really okay for me to ask for that same love and service for myself, and that this was a time of releasing and mourning, and that I was not to hold any of that inside, and I was not to stop the weeping, that was also an important part of this. So don't hold your feelings inside, let them out. It doesn't matter where you are, just allow it out so that you don't carry around the baggage. If you find this inspiring and helpful for you, share it with others that might be exactly what they're needing at this time. And there'll be there's going to be some added videos on this topic for you to follow immediately. Take care, bye.